Hello, today we're going to do something from Daf 33, which is the Bar Kochba Revolt, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. This is number 1 of 2, because it takes a little bit of time to unravel this whole historical drama in the event of Eretz Yisrael. So as you recall, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his son, eventually in the stories of masechet Shabbat, ran off to a cave. They stayed in this cave for many years, 12 years, and they learned Torah in the cave. They were sustained in the cave through Nisim, and they couldn't come out. Eventually they did come out, and they saw a world that they didn't recognize, but why did they go to the cave in the first place? So it alludes to it in the Talmud, but it doesn't say it outright on the daf. And what happened in that era was there was a revolt, and there were problems with the Jewish society, and of course Hadrian, the Roman Emperor, put on many, many prohibitions that were similar to the ones from Hanukkah, from Antiochus. No Torah, no congregations, no Brit Milah, no kashrut, no going to shul, basically social isolation, and no Beit Midrash, no congregations in any way. So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and some others were very against this, and he and his son went to the cave. Now, what happened at the same time as this was the Bar Kochba revolt. Maybe you learned about it in school. Mered Bar Kochba. Bar Kochba was a extremely militaristic fighter who sort of came up out of nowhere, called himself Nasi, minted coins. We have the coins. I'm going to talk about the coins in a minute. It's very interesting. He saw himself as recreating a world where we could have Torah, where we could have a Beit HaMikdash. He saw this as we would kick out the Romans and usher in a new age where we could have a Beit HaMikdash with korbanot. That's what his intentions were. His name was actually not Bar Kochba. It's a play on words. Some sages, some Chazal, like Rabbi Akiva is the most famous, felt that he was really the Mashiach. Many, many, many were against it, and many said, don't put all your hope in this. The Romans are gonna slaughter us. Unfortunately, that was actually true. And the Romans did really slaughter them, the Jews, but they had to fight for 4 years on this. So these 4 years, or 3 years actually, were very difficult times for the Romans. They very much thought it would be an easy victory. Some Jews come up, they're kind of guerrilla warfare. Big deal, it's a local population, we'll pound them. It didn't happen. Bar Kochba and his men were fantastic guerrilla fighters. In fact, there's many caves today in Eretz Yisrael you could go and see where they fought and where they kind of had their, sort of reign of strength. Now, the Romans were so scared of these people that they did something which was really unusual. Nobody saw this before. They needed to bring in their chariots into the land because they saw it was the only way to win. So they called all their engineers back, and they called all of their strong people back who could build roads, to build roads from the north, that is from like Lebanon downwards and in. They then called the greatest general that they had. He was in England at the time, because Rome, of course, had England too. His name was Severus, and he was a phenomenal general. They called General Severus with his army in. They call in the engineers. They start to build roads because they become terrified of the Jews. The Jews are winning, and they don't know what to do, because if they win, everyone else will revolt, and everyone else will win. So they're terrified. So they start to really clamp down on the country. And part of it was the spiritual clamping down. No Torah, no getting together, no learning. And that's why Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his son had to go to a cave, and they had to go and learn. Now, Bar Kochba is a very odd, elusive, unusual figure, actually, in the whole history of, Judaism. He's even more different than the kind of Maccabees and Chashmonaim, because he was sort of all military. We know a lot about him because in the caves that he used to hide in near the Dead Sea, we have letters, the Bar Kochba letters they're called. And he wrote to his people, and he was from, and he wanted lulavim and esrogim for the holiday, and he wanted everybody to sort of join in, but not everybody did. In the next video, we're going to talk more about some of the reactions to Bar Kochba and how he lost in the end.